I'm Priyadeep. I just completed my undergrad from King's College London,
So,
and
considering all, I mean, why would you choose the UK over going to the US? I mean, considering people say there are better job opportunities, or I may be wrong here, you can correct me, but what are the job prospects and why would you choose the UK over the US?
Criteria. How important do you think co-curricular activities and social service is really? And how do you think one can stand out in the college application
but in the
process?
UK per se, what I felt was that it was strictly your personal statement that was most important, and your grades.
Speaking about the life
Friend,
at college, yeah, so a
yeah.
lot of us have a lot of misconceptions regarding that. Is there only studying, a little partying? What's happening there?
But other universities like King's, UCL, LSE, Imperial, Warwick, they've got a great balance of social life, and even in America, you've got 4 years, so it's less stressful because it's more education is more spread across in over 4 years than in three.
CBSE, do you think
And
A level students studying A level have an edge over the ones studying CBSE, or is it same for everyone? I mean, the parameters are same.
goal, right? One thing you should know after your first year's over is whether you want to instantly do a master's after or not. That'll help you in making these decisions because my end goal was not to look for a job but to apply for masters.
So since you were on the student council, did that give you an edge or that leadership role in school? Does that really matter much?
I'll answer this in a yes and no, right? In the grand scheme of things, no.
Welcome everyone to Writers Mascot podcast. This is your host Eshaan Walia. Today we have a very special guest with us, Priyadeep Dasmunshi, who a lot of you may already know about. And Aarush and I will be conversing with him about a topic that is very important in all of our all the students' lives, that is college. So, Priyadeep, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Hey guys, I'm Priyadeep. I just completed my undergrad from King's College London, and now I'm going to the London School of Economics for my master's. I studied philosophy, politics, and economics during my undergrad, and I was in DPSI just like your hosts before going to university. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so let's start off with some of the admission criteria. How important do you think co-curricular activities and social service is really? And how do you think one can stand out in the college application process?
Okay, so in my personal experience, because I only applied to the UK, I did not apply to the US, but like most of my friends applied there, so I know their admission procedures as well. So, extracurriculars and social service, etc., I think plays a very important role when applying to the US, and of course, if you're applying to India on sports quotas or whatever. But in the UK per se, what I felt was that it was strictly your personal statement that was most important, and your grades. Uh, and of course, you talk about some of your co-curriculars in your personal statement. So, like one paragraph there is just about what you have learned from your extracurriculars, right? So I did Model UN, so I could talk about the fact that because I'm studying politics and economics, and I did so many Model UNs that really, encouraged me and sparked my interest into studying this at an undergraduate level. So it is important in how you use it in your application procedure. So you have to be clever about. You can't just put everything in there. Like, you can't just be like, I used to play cricket in school,
Right.
uh, right? When I'm because I did. You have to. There's a way to use it if you were captaining a side, what you learned there, or if you're applying something for sports management or something. Then yeah, you talk about your cricket and not your Model UNs as much. So in the UK, it's all about how you make use of your co-curriculars in your personal statement towards the course you're applying for. Whereas in the US, I think it creates a more holistic application for an individual, the fact that they've done so much and so much in their school lives. And especially if you've taken a gap year, then you definitely need to stress on the stuff you've done during a gap year, which is co-curriculars and social work. But yeah.
So that drives me to the question. I mean, you got a wonderful result in your A levels and IGCSE. So I mean, in India particularly, there's a stigma. I mean, I would say that US education in US is far superior than any other country. So considering all, I mean, why would you choose the UK over going to the US? I mean, considering people say there are better job opportunities, or I may be wrong there, you can correct me, but what are the job prospects and why would you choose the UK over the US?
No, see, job wise, yes, the US has an advantage in because presently with Brexit and everything, the situation in the UK is it's a bit tricky. Um, but like there's lots of reasons I chose UK over the US. I'm familiar with the area because I've been going to London. I have family there since I was a kid. I love that place. I feel it's the best city in the world. B, UK's education, American education is on the same level. It's not that US education is better. Uh, Both countries have extremely well-renowned institutions. See, a major factor was that a UK undergrad lasts for 3 years, whereas in America you need to spend 4 years. So right now, what's happening with my batch is that by the time I'll have a master's degree, my school classmates will be completing their undergrad degree from the US. So technically, I'll have a jump start, right? Um, and then masters in the US is 2 years as well. D, I hate standardized testing. So I did not want to go through that entire process just to get into a school in US. I also don't like America as a country that much. Plus, right now, I don't know how friendly they're going to be with jobs given Trump and Corona and everything. Like you're suspending H-1B visas and forcing students to be back home. So in that way, the UK is much more flexible because what's happening now with the new policy is that because after Brexit, see a lot of businesses will go, but they will want to attract a lot more people to keep their economy going. So what's happening in the UK is starting next year onwards, whoever's going to graduate slash get admission from next year after their course is over, they can apply for a 2 year extension to their visa, just to 2 years for you to stay in the UK and find a job, right? That's a great policy move that the UK has come up with for future students. Uh, but yeah, and the environment between the UK and US is completely different. Like, both are international, yes, but there is a much more feel of home in India in the UK as compared to the US, just in terms of social life and everything else. Uh,
Yeah,
Plus,
so since you're speaking about the life
different.
at college, yeah, so a
Yeah.
lot of us have a lot of misconceptions regarding that. Is there only studying, a little partying? What's happening there? If you could just
Okay, so right in the UK, it's pretty much like our school only. The fact that we have boards and then we've got to study like a month and a half before boards, like a mad person. Uh, like that's what the A levels was compared to the IB, which was you have to be consistently doing something or the other, right? So in the UK, it's like that. You've got exams twice a term or twice a year, and you've got to study like a mad person before that. And otherwise, you've got essays, but that's also like one or two essays a month at most. Until unless you're in Oxbridge, then then it's only studies. Let me tell you, Oxbridge is only studies. But other universities like King's, UCL, LC, Imperial, Warwick, they've got a great balance of social life. And even in America, you've got 4 years, so it's less stressful because it's more education is more spread across in over 4 years than in three. And America has a huge dorm culture and frat culture, this and that. Whereas the UK is more, you either live in a student accommodation or get a flat, because it's mostly cities or off campus. Because the UK per se does not, the social life differs in the sense that the US has a more campus oriented social life, whereas in the UK it's more of a city oriented social life, and that makes a huge difference. So uh, I think it's a really good balance. At least my university, I think it's the perfect balance between academia and a social life. Like there's time for literally everything you want to do. It's not that stressful. But that 1 month before exams or that exam month, yeah, then that's when you actually go to the
That's
library.
obviously right.
Yeah.
I mean, my next question is, I heard you many times saying about the social life and life apart from college. So I wanted to ask, how big of a factor do you think is the culture and environment of a country? I mean, how big of a role it plays when a student decides for which university they're going to apply. For example, a person studying in MIT, like the top college in the world, might not be very happy because the culture might not suit him. So, how big of a factor do you think that plays in a person choosing the university?
See, it depends from person to person, right? For me, the way I looked at it was like, okay, so I'm gonna go to a foreign country and I have to spend the next 3/4 years of my life there. So the area was definitely a consideration for me, right? So my firm in insurance was Warwick and Kings. Like Kings was my firm, and insurance was Warwick. Even though technically Warwick might be a better institution for economics than say Kings, uh, but Warwick was in the middle of nowhere, and Kings was right in the middle of central London. So that helped me narrow my decision because I want to spend my next 3 years there. Right, and yeah. Similarly, I've got many friends in Oxbridge. I've got in the UK, and their lives are very different from London uni life. I know people in MIT as well. See, to get into MIT, okay, if you've gotten into MIT, then you're passionate enough about your academia that you'll do well there no matter what, right? Not everyone gets into MIT, but for Oxbridge and everything, if had I gotten in, it would have been a difficult decision because a you have this like amazing university, but again, it's in the middle of nowhere. And personally, me, I like networking, and I think I could do that much better in central London, and that's what I did. So it was good because the city offers you a lot more opportunities than the campus opportunities that are available in these universities. So in the city, you can literally go out, explore, um, you know, talk to people. There's so many events happening all across the city, especially in colleges as well, where you can network. It's a great environment. That's what I feel. And for me, location was definitely big determinant because I applied to 4 universities that were in the city uh, because I wanted to be in the city. But that's not true for everyone else. Like people who are hunting like the best university to study this and that, that's what they should do. Because I always knew that I'm after undergrad, I'll be doing a master's, I might even do a PhD now. So I'll think about the quality of education and everything in a lot more clearer way when I apply for those things. But for the first 3 years of my undergrad education, I just want to be in a place that I would enjoy myself. Uh, so that's why I chose Kings.
Uh, I mean, you went through A levels, so I mean, majority of the people in India
Mhm.
study in CBSE, and they might not even be aware about A levels in as a whole. So my question is, a comparison between A levels and CBSE. Do you think students studying A level have an edge over the ones studying CBSE, or is it same for everyone? I mean, the parameters are same.
I think it's pretty much the same. Uh, for admission purposes, it's the same, definitely. Uh, even I mean, literally, I only know our school, and like if I think I've only come across 2 or 3 people in my 3 years from India who have done A levels from other cities. You know, but then in the UK, like every British person has done an A level. Uh, so the difference is not that much for admission purposes, because when you apply from a foreign country, they expect to decide that by a foreign board as well. And universities like King's, UCL, especially for their business schools, they've really expanded everything just to attract more Indians and more Chinese students, and make it more uh, easier for us to get that. They want more of us basically to come to their university, because well, we pay international tuition fees. But most important, I don't think the difference of board is not really a matter for applying. It's about why A levels is significantly better than CBSE for studying in the UK, is because once you get here, you have a huge advantage in how they teach you in university. You're already familiar with how to write essays. There is no rote learning like CBSE. So initially in your first year, you'll find your first year to be a lot more easier than people from CBSE schools, because they will have to adjust and change their way of learning and studying and change their way of writing essays. However, we're already used to that, because we already get that form of education that's prevalent in that country. I can't say a lot about US education. I'm not quite familiar with how that works, but for the UK, it's not a huge factor in applying to schools. It's only once you get here, life is easier if you've done A levels before, because it's very similar university education to that.
Another
And
question I had. Oh yeah.
no, go ahead.
Yeah. So like now you have graduated from your undergraduation. So now my question is, when you look back at school life, in particular, I would say the 11th and 12th grades. So one thing you wish you could have done in that period, or one thing you have done which has benefited you so much in these years, which you would want to share with our listeners?
Um, See, I don't think there's one thing that's a very tricky question, because I mean, I wouldn't like go back and change anything. I wouldn't do anything differently, because luckily for me, everything has gone well, right? And in fact, I think it's for every situation. Like whatever you do, it's all in the past now, like from my perspective, right? And whatever happened then has shaped you and your journey ahead. So there's not really one thing that I would have done differently, or something significant that has made me. Uh, yeah, I always had an international outlook back then, and that's very important for you in a foreign institution to socialize. So I guess the fact that we are from an international school, and my batch had a few international students back in the day, I think just the openness to other cultures really helped me, because nothing was nothing was that strange or new for me when I got there. It was just a lot more people and a lot more different people, but the way I was with them was the same the way I was in school. So it was pretty similar. Yeah.
So since you were on the student council, did that give you an edge, or that leadership role in school? Does that really matter much?
Right. I'll answer this in a yes and no. Right. In the grand scheme of things, no. Uh, uh, but for example, when you're out there applying for jobs, they don't really care if you were in the student council or not. But in university, of
Right.
course, when you're applying for university, being a part of the student council can be quite helpful, uh, for admission purposes only. Like if you have two candidates for any US or UK institution, if you have two candidates with very similar strong personal statements and very similar grades, but you see that one is was a head boy or a school appointee, the university will tend to give him an offer first and choose him over the other one. So it's definitely helpful. And qualities wise, like so I was house captain, and I led my cricket team to victory in sports week, uh, as Aarush remembers. So that see that just the fact that you get to like delegate who plays what, and that whole manager experience of being a house captain from sports week helped me because I then was the vice president of cricket in my university. It was pretty similar, and it was stuff that we've all done before, so that was helpful there. Yeah, but yeah, it is definitely important for getting into the uni. It just makes your application a lot more holistic and strong. But once uni is over and you've made it to uni, even without uh, being a student appointee, which happens a lot, then you don't have to regret over the fact years later that I wasn't in the student council, because then it doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah.
But there's no harm. I mean, it's a good learning experience. It's about how what you make of it when you become a student appointee, how you do and what you do. That'll make a difference. Yeah, pretty much that.
Uh,
Can I just add something about the CBSE level question before?
yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to say that I don't know how, like, I'm pretty sure that all universities will be changing their outlook towards CBSE now that there's a new education plan and that the CBSE is completely transformed, right? So now you don't have to stick to
Right.
street and stuff. So I don't know how universities will look into that, but I'm pretty sure they'll only be, in fact, more welcoming to CBSE students now that their curriculum is a lot more flexible than before. I guess that's how I look at it. Yeah.
Um, so, like when you started, I mean, you would have started your undergraduation with some expectations, and by now, when you complete your undergraduation, I mean, the reality is in front of you. So, how much do you think when you started with your undergraduate, and now when you're done with it, how much do you think I mean, you would have planned something else maybe at the start of undergraduate that you will do this and you will do that. So, I mean, throughout the course of your 3 years, I mean, some other, like for example, if you're in politics, you would have thought that I would want to do this major. So, how do you deal with so many thoughts? I mean, one clarity, like you have to make the decision. So, how do you say that this has to be the opportunity cost? So, you will stick firm to the decision. So,
Right.
what's,
Uh,
yeah.
See, 3 years, like my 3 years have flown by, especially with Corona, my graduation and everything, my final exams, like we couldn't get a proper farewell and everything. But so time has flown by. And uh, so in university, choosing what you want to study, like if I now look back, there's a lot of things I would have done differently in university for sure. I had to choose between doing a BA and a BSc. I chose a BA. Now that I think about it, if I want to get like a proper job, then a BSc would have been more helpful. Uh, so there's a lot of things. I mean, certain modules that I would have rather taken over certain other modules. My approach to certain modules. There's a lot I would change. Not that I'm disappointed with it. I'm pretty happy with how my 3 years have passed by. But yeah, at that moment, deciding between things like you said, opportunity cost. Now that's a very rational economic way of thinking,
Yeah.
which is what I was taught, but not something that I follow. Uh, so most people, I think this trade-off was in front of me, and that trade-off is in front of a lot of people. It might come in front of you in the future too. Is this trade-off between uh, stuff that you actually want to study and be passionate about, like certain modules that attract you instantly, versus modules that you know that you'll score amazingly in, but you might already know a lot of what's being taught here, slash you don't really want to study it, but it would be great for your score sheet because you'd score here. And in those situations, I always chose the stuff that I really want to study. Sometimes I would score well in them, sometimes I wouldn't, right? uh, but I think that's the whole point of university. I mean, you can do both as well, but because there is only a limited number of classes you can take in college, this trade-off does happen somewhere. So I just went with my gut feeling. I did not care about my report card that much. uh, because my main objective, so it's all about your end goal, right? One thing you should know after your first year's over is whether you want to instantly do a master's after or not. That'll help you in making these decisions, because my end goal was not to look for a job but to apply for masters. Hence, I only chose the stuff that I like. And uh, because yeah, that helps you better for applying for the masters that you want, as compared to if I had to instantly apply for a job, I would have taken a BSc and done stuff that would have helped me, um, and done a lot of other extracurriculars catered towards that. So I think you should have, after first year, you should have somewhat of an idea in the UK, because it's 3 years, not in the US. You can take 2 years in the US, as to what you want to do after undergrad ends, just so that you have more. It's easier for you to make certain decisions in college, if you have that goal in mind. Yeah,
Uh,
pretty much.
so as we come closer to the end of our discussion, so my one question, I mean, one advice I would seek from you for myself as well as the other students who might be listening this, that what do you, I mean, what is one suggestion you would give to every other teenager listening to this podcast about how they should carry their 11th and 12th and for their college admissions?
Uh, I guess just um, don't stress yourself that much. I mean, see, now that's kind of hypocritically coming from me, because all of us would stress ourselves quite a bit when we were in school in that position. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I guess just don't lose your focus at all. Just keep your focus intact. Just because even if you don't do as well as you expected to, but your end goal is to study abroad, uh, it's not that every university abroad wants the best grades. There's a lot of other universities you can apply to abroad that are obviously not as highly ranked or anything. But see, this is the truth about undergraduate abroad, right? In a country like the UK or the US, this is within the country that I'm talking about. It definitely matters for prestige and reputation as to what university you're in. But at the end of the day, uh, doesn't matter if you're in Kings, if you're in UCL, if you're in LSE, or if you're in, say, Newcastle University or Coventry University. You'll get equal opportunities everywhere. So even if you don't get where you wanted to, don't feel bad that I couldn't get into, my friends are in a better ranked institution than me. It's all about the opportunities that you make when you do come in university, because at the end, someone from Coventry or Kings or Newcastle can end up at the same job, can end up at the same master's university, right? So it's all about how hard you work. Uh, and in school, my advice would be, yeah, just don't lose your focus and don't feel bad if things don't go your way. Just push harder and work harder after that. And stress, definitely, there will be stress, there will be goosebumps, there will be butterflies in your stomach on result day or when you open that email inbox. But that's the beauty of it, I guess. Enjoy that while it lasts. I'm in school. What can I say? But yeah, just be focused on your end goal and you'll get there eventually. Pretty much that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Priyadeep.
No worries, man.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more upcoming podcasts.